Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on Polywine, where we like to take a deep dive into stories pulled from the media and have a fun time while breaking it down. I'm Jillian, and let's get into it. So we've had so much going on in the last few weeks. You name it. We've had a lot going on in politics, in the Paris Olympics, in the entertainment world, and just in news in general. So let's start tiptoeing into it. So let's go into politics first. Let's just do a quick recap and go from there. So Vice President Kamala Harris is officially now the Democratic nominee for the presidential election. Okay, she is their chosen one, and she just announced this past week her VP pick for her ticket. And she chose Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota. I did not know much about him. I've just kind of heard a little bit about him the last few weeks. He's kind of been a little bit under the radar. I heard a lot about some choices coming from Arizona, Kentucky, Pennsylvania's potential running mates for her. But in the end, she chose Minnesota. So what I took away from her announcement speech and ceremony is that is a couple things. He's the governor of Minnesota. He is a former teacher, former veteran, former coach. So he has a lot of that. And he seems like a likable guy. He has a good record. And he's got the energy. He's excited. He's very excitable. And from what I understand, it was literally that day she chose her pick. It went down to the wire. And there were some really good candidates out there that she was looking at too. Like I said, it was Shapiro. You also had Gabby Gifford's husband, Mark, oh God, why is his name? Kelly of Arizona. He was also in the name. And there was some, forgive me, his name is slipping. I think there was another guy from Kentucky, but yep, Minnesota it was. And I got to tell you, he's got the excitement, but now the Democrats have their ticket. That's who they are. They've got Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, and they are excited. So whatever you felt about the race a month ago, if you are looking at the Democratic Party, well, boy, that has shifted. And I tell you what is there now. The excitement is there. The momentum is there. And so is the money. They are getting the financial backing from everybody they can. So the money is just pouring in. I mean, when Kamala first was announced as she was going to step in for Biden for the race, I read that within the first 24 hours, she raised over $80 million. So, I mean, the money is rolling in. And I think on the opposite side for the Republicans, I think they might be getting a little bit nervous because there's so much excitement about all of this new news that's rolling out for the Democrats that it's put a little bit of pressure on the Republican Party. And I think that if you were in the Trump campaign camp, you might be a little nervous and really having to rethink and, rework a lot of what your previously tactics were and what a lot of your sounding points were going to be, because it's shifting now. You have a different competitor against you. So let the games begin and let the good times roll. And now there was supposed to be a second debate for the presidential debate in September that was originally scheduled following the one that happened in June. That was just an absolute debacle for Biden. And quickly after that, everything shifted within 3 weeks after that debate. So they were still going to continue on with the debate that was set up in September. Well, that is kind of, in limbo. We don't know. Trump said now he's not going to do it. She said she'd be willing to do it, but who knows? Let's see. Maybe they'll come together, because I think now a debate is very important because you have two different candidates. So let the games begin. I'm very excited. I love politics. This was great about politics. I know that there's still a little bit of murmurings that I hear, or mumblings, I should say, within some of the Democratic sides, because I do have my ear on a lot that's going on down in D.C. And from what I have gotten from my sources and a lot from what I've been reading and hearing, there were some Democrats that weren't overly excited to have Harris go slide right into the position. They were really hoping for an open, kind of an, at the DNC, they were really hoping for an open candidate party so we could choose who we wanted then. That would have been really exciting. I think I believe that that hasn't happened since the 60s. So that would have been very exciting. But that's not going to happen. It's Harris and Walz. So here we go. And next is the DNC. Let's see how that goes. And hopefully we will have the debate to see what goes on and see the Trump and Harris go at it together. And then after that, there's 89 days left until the election. So not a lot of time. So I think to have them face off, spar debate wise, more is better for everyone. Right? So let's get it going. So that's where we stand. Now, moving on the other political story, RFK Jr., Robert Kennedy Jr. Have you heard this story that came up with him with this whole bear cub that he witnessed many years ago? A car in front of him as he was driving, they hit a baby bear and they continued on, but he stopped, picked up the bear and put it in his car. Right? And then later decided that he wasn't going to keep the bear because his thought process is he was going to skin it, but then he had somewhere to go and didn't want to leave the bear in the car. So he just disposed it on the side of the road under a bush in Central Park. Then it ended up becoming big news in New York City because they thought that there was, dead bear cubs, obviously mama bear, and there was a panic that there were these bears loose, in the city. So that was very nerve-wracking. So it ended up becoming a large story. Come to find out, I think they said 14 years later, he said, I don't know if it was a podcast or a journalistic interview where he admitted that, it was him. He dropped off the bear cub. So, and then maybe that's where he got the brainworm. I don't know. Wherever you stand for RFK Jr., you like him, don't like him. The stories that have been coming out of his camp recently is just bizarre, to say at the least, just utterly bizarre. So I don't know who's running his political campaign, but if I were them, I don't know how to tell him to kind of quiet it down a bit on how freely he speaks on his podcast or interviews, but I would be more mindful of my words if I were his campaign manager. I would definitely be okay, I would preset the questions, no surprise questions would I allow him, stick to the script, please. So, and speaking of RFK, he is still trying to get his name on the ballot in many states. So that battle is still going on. So from what I understand, it looks like on pretty much all the states, it will be Harris, Walz, and Trump, Vance. But, and please forgive me, I've spaced the name who RFK has chosen the running mate, the tech person. But he's still trying to fight that battle to get his name on the ticket. So let's see where that goes. Still, what did I say, 88 days to election, somewhere around there. So let the games begin, and see, will we have two selections to choose from or three candidates? We shall see. Now, let's move over to the Olympics. The Olympics, the Paris Olympics have definitely been interesting. There have been incredible moments of triumph to watch. Great upsets, some, heartbreaking losses, some just maddening disqualifications, but there's been controversy. Every game has controversy, but there's definitely been a fair share, starting with the opening ceremonies of the Paris Olympics, because I was not a fan of the opening ceremony. I thought it was excessively too long. And I'm going to say this in the best way. I love the French. I worked for a French company for over a decade. I love the French culture. I love France. I can't wait to go back. I love the food. I love the people. I love so much about it. So I love the language. I love so, in the history. I just love so much about it. But when it comes to the theater and just drama in general, boy, the Parisians really know how to draw it out and really go for that, just that deep emotional content to their entertainment. When I was watching the opening ceremonies, I turned to a friend and said to me, who was watching it with me, "Oh my God, this could be really exciting, but I just hope they don't get too French about it." And I mean that in the best way, because when they are beautifully artistically expressive, it is excellent and exquisite and moving. But sometimes when they get a little cheesy, a little hokey, it can be just a little too put on for myself. And that is where I think they started to go. I thought it was way too long. Way, way, way too long. And no to the next Olympics. This is why we have the opening ceremonies in domed stadiums. Okay? Yes, it seems like a good idea to have the opening ceremony on the river and have the athletes in the boats. I'm sure it probably, in theory, aesthetically would have been beautiful. It did not work out that way. It was a downpour. There was raining. I'm sure the designers of all the athletic outfits were so upset because here's the opening ceremony. This is their debut where they get to show their design, their clothing that they've designed for these athletes. And nope, they can't. And it was covered up by a parka. All right. If it wasn't covered up by a parka, it was soaking wet and just like clinging to the athletes. I told my friend who was watching it too, I said, first of all, how many of those athletes are going to get COVID? Because COVID is on the rise. There are a lot of people crammed into those very small boats. And you also have to realize, there's probably two bathrooms on those small ferry boats. And you have all those athletes. I think it was the Greek team. I think it was the Greek boat they were like overflowing their boat. And I remember the announcer saying that was the largest country to have members of the team show up, right? So I just kept seeing this boat. I'm like, oh my God, how many members of that team is going to end up with COVID? Because they were just crammed into that boat like a can of sardines. And there were so many boats like that. Now you had some that had less athletes, so it wasn't as heavy, but that right there to have them cramped together was not a good idea. Then it was raining. It seemed so... very French, last minute kind of put together, it will work out. The can was off. I mean, the French can't do the can. Now, I don't know if it was wet, if somebody slipped. I mean, Lady Gaga had a dancer slip off stage. There were some other issues. All I can say is I fast forward a lot of it just so I could ease my misery, but I just fast forward to the very end to watch Celine Dion. That was breathtaking. It was so beautiful. I with Kelly Clarkson was absolutely verklempt. I was speechless at the end and I cried. She was just beautiful. And the smile on the pianist's face who was playing right with Celine Dion was, oh my God, he was just like, this is my moment. He was so happy to be with the greatest of the great, the queen. And all I could think of is, she better not be getting wet. What a gorgeous backdrop, but she better not be getting wet because she's dealing with that neurological condition, stiff person syndrome. She's really been trying to come out of it. And she better not get COVID to trigger her immune system in a negative way. I don't know really how that could affect her, but I think I would think something with her immune system, you wouldn't want to trigger anything in her body that would stimulate her stiff person syndrome. I don't know a lot about it. All I can say is that my daughter has a neurological condition and her immune system, she definitely has a weaker immune system, and any effect on that, it's a ripple effect for her. So I could only personally think that maybe she might have that too. So I was just thinking during the whole ceremony, please, please, please do not get thy queen, Celine, wet. She is too precious and too perfect. And she was Oh my God. I hope that song will go down in history. It should be sold like Whitney Houston's national anthem, right? With the one during the Super Bowl, was it the late 80s? Oh my God. Amazing. So I hope Celine Dion's song is sold that way. But absolutely exquisite. Some crazy things been going on in the Olympics. We've had some controversies. Of course, we've been talking about for weeks the River Seine, the contamination, and they went ahead. The French did what the French did best. And I've been telling you, like right before the Olympics started, there was this movie on Netflix called Under Paris, where there were sharks infesting the River Seine was infested with sharks. Let's just say that. And there was a triathlon that was supposed to be there in this movie. And the mayor of Paris, same as we did here in real time for the Paris Olympics, the mayor was like, no, we know the river is highly contaminated, but we're not going to make the city look to have a bad, let's just rephrase this. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time speaking. We're not going to make this city look poorly. So we are going to continue on. We're going to clean up the river the best that we can, or as little as we can to make it look good. But we're going to say it looks good. It's completely fine. We're going to carry on and make the city look good with this event. Well, they did. The swimmers got in the water and they were slowly eaten by the sharks. This was in the movie Under Paris. So now I'm telling you, the same thing was happening in the Paris Olympics. The river was contaminated. The mayor fought it, knowing that the river was highly contaminated. They spent, $1.5 billion of taxpayers' money to a pretty poor effort to clean up the river. It still was highly contaminated. They actually postponed the men's event, which I believe was the first event, because the levels were still too high of contamination to have the racers participate in the water safely, right? So that was postponed. So I don't know why you think 24 hours is going to be a big difference. Considering it's been raining, it's just going to churn that stuff around. Well, they did anyway. So the men swam, the female swam, and then, of course, swimmers started becoming ill, right? Some had gastrointestinal infections. Some had other stuff. It was just bad. Like this, I remember it was the female Belgian triathlete. She became very ill after, and she had a withdrawal out of the final race, and it was just heartbreaking because she was definitely a favorite. So I was reading a story like that, and there's been other athletes. There's been other athletes that have, COVID. We know that Noah Lyles, he ended up racing for the bronze. Was it the 200 meter? And he was favored to win, ended up losing and got the bronze. The gold medalist went to Botswana. And wow, what a race. But he ended up collapsing with COVID at the end of it. He as soon as he finished the race, and like I said, he got bronze. He collapsed on the field and immediately came out that he had COVID. And he was cleared. And there's been a few other people that have tested positive for COVID and continued to race. Now, today in the women's, was it 10,000 meter? Wow, that was a fantastic race. But one of the French athletes collapsed. Yeah, like they were saying that she really just wasn't really kind of sticking up to her pace, and then boom, she went down. But that ended up being just a great race. That was just a fantastic race. What a final race to win. The one that I have to say that was so much fun to watch is that breakdancing made its Olympic debut. And today was the women's event. And I found it probably to be one of the most exciting events. So, usually beach volleyball has a really fun feel. You've got the music, it's outdoors, you've got the fun event, you've got the sport, you've got the games, everything. That's usually, from what I understand, to be a good ticket to get at the Olympics and usually one of the most fun events. Well, this one, the breakdancing, looked awesome. You had DJs, you had the dance floor, the crowd was utterly pumped. You had Snoop Dogg in the audience. I even said to my friend, I was like, Snoop Dogg better be here, right? He's got to be here. And of course, she showed up and it was great. These girls today were fantastic. First of all, the one Chinese girl, Yitzing, is that her name? And the one, the Italian girl and the Chinese girl, I think her name was Yitzing. They were so tall. I was just amazed how you could do those moves with those long, long legs. And these girls are just, wow. Absolute athletes to the T. I mean, I think they said that, so it's a dance off. You have 2 countries on the stage, 2 girls. Each girl, they get 2 rounds, and I think they said it was 60 seconds each of hard dancing. It seemed longer to me, but I think the announcer said it's 60 seconds. And they are judged on 5 categories in that round. I still don't know how the judging works. I know the categories. I don't know how you judge them. I mean, some of these moves were awesome. But in the end, I mean, it was just fascinating to see them off. How they just sparred off dancing, the moves. But the thing that I found to be so incredible, that this is really the skill of the athlete, is that these athletes had no routine. They just had their craft, their skill, and what they know. They got on the stage. They knew who they were competing in the competition. They knew like how many athletes were there. Like there were going to be 2 from, Ukraine and 2 from China and 2 from, Japan and things like that. But they didn't know exactly. I don't know how they drawed, if they were just chosen out. I don't know how they were put up against each other, but because they were ranked differently. Some, I think it was 1 through 16 were the ranking in this competition. And this really young, it started off, first of all, let me back up. It started off, they had their 15 set athletes that were going to compete. And then they had 2 dancers that had to battle dance off to get the 16th spot to compete. And wow, that was really good. And this girl from the Netherlands got it. And she ended up being fantastic. She was great. And she did really well for her Olympic debut. Oh my God. And she was so young. She still had braces. The one I have to say that there was this 17-year-old girl from Lithuania, and she was phenomenal. Phenomenal. And the thing that I found to be so fantastic, and like I was trying to say, and I interrupted myself because I got so excited, is that these athletes, like I said, they don't know who they're going to compete against. So I don't know if it's just a random picking who they have to dance with, because there's several different rounds, right? 2 rounds each time the dancer's up, but they have to go up and compete against several different competitors, which is crazy. So, I mean, it's a lot of dancing throughout the day. And like, this is like, you got flips and spins. So, oh my God, like this is some hardcore moves. Like I was telling my friend, I'm like, this is like multiple gymnastic floor routines throughout the day. So how exhausted is that kid? Because they're pretty young, but some of these athletes were like in their 30s, in their 40s. But what I found to be amazing is that the dancers did not know what song they would be dancing to. They got up on the stage and these DJs started playing just random music. So they just had to start to get the beat, the feel, and just had to start breaking out into dance into this rhythm that's unknown, maybe familiar if they knew the song, but they unknown because they didn't have a routine, right? Like I said, it's just on their skill and what they know. And wow. So to get up on the stage, know a little bit about your competitor, who they are and what their kind of style of dance is, but not know the music that you're going to dance to, not have a routine, and just constantly rotating who your competitor is. It was really entertaining to watch. But this girl from Lithuania, 17 years old, was absolute phenomenal. And one of the announcers was saying that out of all the athletes, This 17-year-old from Lithuania didn't have a choreographer. And I couldn't tell if she said if she had a coach or didn't have a coach, but she kept saying she was all on her own. And I was like, that is unbelievable. I mean, what a triumph of an athlete to not have I don't even know if they said she had a coach, but I think because they kept saying she was all alone. So I don't know if she had a coach, but not even to have a choreographer to put it together and help teach you. I mean, they said she essentially has a mirror. That's it. So to be such, rawly taught on your own, self-taught, and have such a kind of a raw edge to it, and to be that amazing is kudos to you. So in the end of it, Japan, I think the girl was originally ranked third, she ended up taking the bronze. The girl from Lithuania, who was ranked second, ended up getting the silver. And the girl who was from China, who was originally, I think, ranked first, ended up taking the bronze. And the bronze was very close. But I want to say the two girls from America were fantastic. One was, just so awesome. And let me give it up to the one who was 35 years old. Hello. One of the Japanese athletes was 41. 41. And she was, oh my God. Wow. Her foot action was so fast. Like, I would have to watch the replays to kind of catch up on it because her feet were just so fast. And the one announcer was saying, you got to watch it because that's where she gets over point. She's so clean. She's so precise, but she's so technical. And when you see the technical moves, like her footwork was just, oh my God, like it was just on point and it was just lightning fast. So that was just so good to watch. And then I had to go back and watch, was it acrobatic swimming? Oh my God. Now that, I believe, also made its Olympic debut. And wow. To see these, I only saw the women so far, but these women made like these human platforms and was launching these other women in the air. First of all, some of the best bodies I've ever seen were these female swimmers. Oh my God. And just to see the underwater action, the camera underwater, because to see the aerial where you see the designs and the pattern that they're making, beautiful, the precision, just amazing. But the aerial work, the balance, but when you see the cameras underwater, and I mean, these women have no goggles, so I can't imagine how much their eyes burn. I cannot imagine how much their eyes burn. But wow. The artistry, the skill, the strength. I mean, they're essentially deep sea divers. How long they have to hold their breath and just, boom, the precision. So I wanted to see a couple of the hot teams, right? Of course, China went in ranked number one. They did. They were fantastic. They won number one, or they won the gold. America, USA, ranked number two as they went in. They were still fantastic. They won silver. Spain, wonderful job. Kind of a serious performance. They originally, slid into gold spot, but ended up closing out, stealing with the bronze. But I want to give honorable mention to Mexico. They did this routine that was based off this Mexican legend, and I just thought it was so cool. First of all, bright, beautiful statement bathing suits, if you will, because you could just, the colors, like most of them, a lot of the other ones had just so much sequins and pearls, but the pink and the yellow and the greens together, just so pretty. And just the story, I thought they told it really well. And that was kind of fun. So there was a lot of hype leading up to kind of those debut sports. Really fun to watch. Tomorrow, you'll finish out with some of the men's competition, some more of the synchronized swimming and duets, and you're going to have some more of the track and field. One of the major upsets today was the disqualification of the 4x100 relay by the men. Cannot believe it. Absolutely insane. I guess there was a spatial pattern. There was a, I think, so there was something, I know Carl Lewis was furious about it. He was saying that there were some changes. Something happened the day before. I'm still trying to figure out 100% what's going on, but something was going on that the positions weren't right. One of the athletes took off a little too soon. So therefore the handoff and the baton was not right. And therefore he moved into a different zone. So, there was a lot of controversy behind that. I don't know. But so far in the U.S. total Olympic rankings, right now in the medal rankings, U.S. is at number 111 medals so far, 33 golds, 39 silvers, and 39 bronzes. Congratulations. Second place is China, 83 medals total, 33 golds, 27 silvers, and 23 bronze. And finishing out the top three, Australia, who has had a great Olympic debut, or not debut, performance, I should say, debut. Sorry, I'm still on the two events that made their Olympic debut. Australia finishing out the top three. They have 48 total medals, 18 gold, 16 silver, 14 bronze. And then rounding out the top six, you have fourth place Japan, fifth place Great Britain, and sixth to the home hosting country of France. France having a very good Olympics. But let me tell you, Australia doing great. They always are very strong swimmers, but they've had quite a few upsets as well. So congratulations to those teams. I have to say, sports-wise, I think the Olympics have been good to watch. The coverage has been good. However, I think there has been a lot, personally, my personal opinion, I think there has been a lot of fails for the hosting country. I don't think it's really panned out as well. There's definitely been some controversies. There's definitely been some bungling of things of sorts, if you will. I think execution-wise in the handling of the Olympics. But I have to say that, did you watch the surfing part of the Olympics? That was really cool. Very cool. But the surfing athletes were in a different location than everyone else in Paris. They were in Tahiti, right? Wow, my God. What a setup. They were on these luxury cruise ships, all the surfers, amongst themselves. And of course, the coaches, staffs, the medical staffs, you name it. But then they have private chefs. They were on this luxury cruise ship in Tahiti. Does it get better than that? So some of the athletes had made some of these TikTok videos about how sweet it was, how awesome their experience was at the Olympics. And it looks amazing. Absolutely amazing, with the crystal clear water and that amazing boat. And wow. While a lot of the other Olympics, international athletes were complaining about the conditions of the Olympic villages, like too many athletes in close quarters with one or two small bathrooms, just not enough space to accommodate them, and just being cramped and really not having, there's been a lot coming out from the Olympic Village about the food not being the quality of food not being on par. They were supposed to have a lot of vegetarian, vegan, and pretty much plant-based food options to accommodate to the athletes. Because these athletes are in the tip-top shape of their life, and they have the most structured workout plans and diets. And so for them to not have quality food is just, God, that is just a no-no, and what a faux pas. So there's been a lot of complaints about the food, which is so ironic considering the French are known for their food. But a lot of complaints there. But, so we'll see. I guess the closing ceremonies, like I said, tomorrow. I guess once it's all and done, we'll really hear about everything that kind of went wrong with the Olympics. But following the closing ceremonies, they will then have the Paralympics. And I have to tell you, I feel guilty. I really had not watched the Paralympics before the Brazil Summer Olympics. I had a family member that actually went to see the Paralympics in Brazil. And he was like, Jillian, I'm telling you, those were the most exciting games I had ever seen in my life. He was like, I loved every event that I went to. It was just high intensity. And let me tell you, I have not ever seen in my life an athlete give everything because, they have disabilities. So, I mean, like, I watched the Tokyo Olympics and there was this game that I could not turn away from. It was so exciting. The athletes were just absolutely phenomenal. And I think it was called handball, not handball. I think it's called handball. But what it almost looked like an indoor soccer court, right? You had deaf and blind athletes. And it was kind of like dodgeball, a combination between like dodgeball, kickball, and handball. And it was so intense. Like the goalies couldn't feel, they were sensing where the balls were by vibration and feel. Oh my, it was just incredible. Absolutely incredible. Like I remember the goalie was blind and I think deaf. And I remember for her position at the goal, you could see her feeling the top of the goal in the rim, and there were like certain like points on the goal to tell her exactly where her position was. It was so exciting. It was so intense, and the two refs were amazing because you can tell they were just these older Japanese men that were just so into the game, and it was so intense, and they were like almost performative, but they made that game so much more exciting. When they were giving the signals and the calls, like I don't know if you've ever. I try to always watch a football game that in American that's soccer, but I have a lot of South American friends that make me watch football in Spanish, and it is such a better game with the announcers. In Spanish, it's more intense. It is just so much more fun, and how they scream goal and how they can hold their breath for like 30 seconds to 60 seconds as they scream goal. It is such a different game, such a different experience watching that sport that way. So I almost had the same feeling watching that sport at the Tokyo Paralympic Games because the refs were just so good and so into it and so intense. So I beg you to watch the Paralympics, support those athletes. They are just, just phenomenal. See, I always get a little sad because they just don't get the coverage that the traditional Olympics do. But I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Those games are incredible to watch. Those athletes are, I don't know. Like, I feel like they are almost better athletes than the traditional Olympics because they have to fight so much harder and struggle and strive and train twice as hard to get where the other athletes are. So I cannot wait to watch them. I'm more excited to watch the Paralympics than the standard Olympics. But all in all, I think NBC, you've done a very good job coverage-wise. Personally, I'm glad I have Peacock to go back and watch it commercial free. I can't stand the commercials, but it is nice seeing the athletes having their moments in the commercials, and I hope they get some sponsorship because they need it. I don't know if you've ever watched documentaries on what happens to athletic or Olympic athletes. It's tough for them. It is a tough world, and they don't get paid much at all, if anything. Only the top tier get paid a little bit. So I really hope they get the sponsorship and the endorsements that they need because they need it and they deserve it. So congratulations to all the athletes. It's been great games. the best of your best. Like I said, it's been great to watch. Thoroughly enjoy it. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I just hope the closing ceremonies are shorter. I hope it's not raining, although poor track and field, it's been pretty good weather, most of it, since it's an outdoor stadium. And then I'm doing some of the bigger events and the medaling ceremonies. Of course, the rain starts again. What are you going to do? So, but it's enjoy. But I don't know. Did you hear about the CrossFit Games yesterday moving to other sports? So there was a large CrossFit competition in Texas yesterday. And there was a tragedy, unfortunately. And during the swimming event. And CrossFit are intense games. You've got the heavy, intense, intricate weightlifting. You've got the running. You've got the swimming. And during the swimming portion of the event, there was a swimmer that went into distress and ended up going under and died and drowned to death. And it's unfortunate. He was very young. I think he said his name. He was 28, of Serbia, and just a tragedy. And the other swimmer said it just happened so fast. The other athletes, the competitors that were in the water with him, said we saw him going up and down, and then he just went down and he never came back up. And as a former lifeguard, I can tell him, for just to go down that fast, this is just an opinion. It sounds like maybe there was a medical emergency, because a lot of times you see them at least try and come back up when they're in that distress. But to see him go down that fast, and they said they immediately alerted the lifeguards, the medical teams, the safety crews that were there, and they went in to get him right away, and they could not resuscitate him. So I'm sure we will find out later what the cause of death was. It just sounds terrible and so young. But those are intense sports. And I don't know how you can do it. You know, I've done a lot of long distance races, a lot of different running events, and trail races, hurdle races, all this. No, not CrossFit. That's just too much. I can't do a triathlon. I can do a half marathon. I don't prefer marathons. After that 13th mile, I'm like, you know what? I'm good. I'm done. I'm like Forrest Gump. I'm done. I'm good. I've seen it all. I'm a good halfie, not a full marathon. But the training that CrossFit requires is a whole other level. So you have to be so elite fit to be in that competition anyway. So to see him so young and to suffer, I'm going to say a medical emergency. I don't know that. But I would think, I don't know. So she'll see. That's just my opinion. I don't know. I'm only guessing speculating, I should say, because I mean, just how quick it happened. It's just so sad. So they postponed the events the rest of the day yesterday, so the investigation, but the final leg of the competition continues today. So the investigation's going on. I hope we will find out later on what happened, so this tragedy could be prevented in the future. But just so sad, so young, so sad, and so healthy. Wow. It's Texas too. Texas is hot. Very hot. And I'm not 100% sure, but I think they did the 3-hour run. 3-hour run in Texas heat? Kill me. Oh my God. Brutal. So that's what's going on in some sports. So let's get into the fun portion of it. Let's get into a little bit of the entertainment. So this past week on HBO Max, we had the finale of House of Dragons. What did you think? Did you like it? Did you love it? Were you pissed about it? Huh? Because nothing happened. Nothing happened. And I'm pissed about it. I waited. Oh, you're going to give me the entire season? The entire season. Is you're going to kill Rhaenys? The queen who never was. Seriously, that's what you're going to give me? You're going to take away probably my favorite character. And she was one of the favorite characters, right? She was badass. You're going to take her away, right? And then give me nothing else the entire season. I don't care about Aemon and Aegon. It's going to continue. Lucerys, oh God, Lucerys. Ugh. But, Lucerys is right. He was best to get Aegon out because Aemon's not going to give up his power, right? We know this. But I was really, really freaking pissed. I was pissed. Not one battle, not a little fire breathing from the dragon. And can somebody tell me what's going to happen to that one guy? What's his name? Ulf? Is that his name? Yeah, I can't stand that guy. When is he going to die? He gets a dragon. So you have Ulf, Hugh, and Adam, who are the new dragon riders. And I'm definitely down with Adam. He's a gorgeous man. I've said that before, and I think the dragon chose wisely. The dragon chose him, and wise choice. I like Hugh. He's got some good hair, right? And he fought. His poor kid didn't make it, and he's fighting for the better good. Ulf, he's just gross. Can a dragon eat him, please? He's rude. He's crass. He's disgusting. I can't stand him. So when is he going to get killed off? Like he's set up. What's going to happen? Either A, he's going to try and take over, right? Or somebody's going to kill him. People die so easily on this show. Can somebody just take his story off quickly? Rhaenyra, you might have some new dragon riders, but I would take Hugh and Adam, and I don't know, I would maybe ask that dragon to drop him in the ocean when you're flying over or something. I don't know. He's got to go. But Daemon, finally, the end of his dream sequence. Thank God. Whatever that girl's been putting in his wine, his vino, his food, whatever. I'm tired of him tripping. But now he's seen the future, and that Rhaenyra is supposed to be the leader of the land. She's supposed to be the chosen one, the queen. So therefore, he bows a knee, and he has the army prepared to battle for Queen Rhaenyra. So, a lot of story building, right? I did watch the after show. And the writers and the producers were very clear that this was the buildup, getting ready for the large battle next season. Well, I gotta wait like another 2 years for the dragons to dragon off? Really? I don't want that. This is the one thing. All right, see, this is what happened with, Game of Thrones. You have a great season, and then you keep us on hiatus for way too long. And then some people you lose, but then you got your diehards. But it's just too long. But to make me wait this whole season, which don't even give me, I'm still pissed off that there's only 8 episodes. What happened to back in the day where you used to have like 16 episodes in a season and things like that? Why now only 8? Okay. I know it takes them a long time to make the show, and there's a lot of CGI and all that other stuff that you got to add to it, which takes longer, and editing and you name it. But that's a long time. And to only give me 8 episodes, where then by the time it comes back for a new season, then I got to go back and watch them all again because I don't remember what happened because I didn't read the books. Okay, I didn't read the books. So I got to watch the season again, and to get ready for the new season that's coming up. And I'm not watching this season again. I'm pissed. I am pissed. It was too much story developing. Okay, fine. Right. I need the story. You need the story. It was too much Daemon tripping. Okay. His dream sequences. It's too much of Rhaenyra sitting in the castle. A lot of mourning. We started off the season her mourning her son, which you should, but that went on for a while. People die all the time on this show, and they're like, whoops, he's gone. Let's move on. This person's filled his spot. So that went on for a while. Then you had Rhaenys, her death went on. That was a mourning process. I'm glad they mourned those 2 characters, and they showed how the loss of them really has taken effect on the people and the family. I did like that, but I just thought it was interesting because people die all the time on the show. And they're like, moving on. That's just kind of how they handle it. So to take that time, was good. But I was pissed. I was pissed. Not a lot. You had that epic dragon battle with Rhaenys, who lost her life, and Aemon got fried by his own dragon. Well, let's say Aemon, his dragon, Viserys, torched up the other two dragons, right, and killed them. But Aemon ended up falling to the ground, and the dragon landed on him. His dragon was dead and, severely wounded. But he was burned severely and fell out of the sky with a dragon, right? So that's it. That was a great episode. I watched that episode twice, right? Because I had to go back and watch it. The first time I watched it, I ended up watching a slightly older TV. So I ended up having to go back and watch the dragon scene on the brand new HD TV. Such a better experience. But that's just how it happened. So I ended up watching it twice. And it was such an epic episode. But that was it for the entire season. The rest of it was story building. Too much. Didn't care about that. So season 3, you better bring it. You've already built it up. I think you spent so much time building this story up in season 2. You better bring it in season 3, because the Game of Thrones and the House of Dragons fans, they are extremely critical. I go on Reddit now and again to look up some information just to kind of get some thoughts and opinions, because you would be amazed at the stuff that floods Reddit right away. So if you kind of want to get a pulse on things right away, sometimes it's just interesting to kind of go on there. And it's diehard, and they're critical, and they don't miss a detail. And I have to tell you, it's really funny. If you want to have a fun pastime, here's 2 suggestions. Enjoy a nice glass of wine and get on Reddit, or I promise you, this is even more fun. I've done this a few times, and I've told a couple friends to do this, and every time we've ever done it, they're like, you're right. Jillian, you are absolutely right. Have that glass of wine, pour it, and go on Urban Dictionary and look up some medical terms. Just do it. And it's not even the definition or the description. It's Urban Dictionary's use of the term or the word in a sentence. That is the best. And you have to say it out loud. It is so freaking funny. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. That is always a good time. So moving along to Presumed Innocent. That's another finale that happened. And I really haven't talked about it much because I was pissed about that one too. I was pissed about Presumed Innocent because, I did not. Okay, spoiler alert! If anybody hasn't seen the ending, it's been out there for a while, so you should know the ending. So, spoiler alert! It was a daughter. I thought it was the wife. I kept thinking it was a wife. It was a wife. Well, evidently, so did Jake Gyllenhaal. He thought it was the wife too, because he was like, "I knew it was you." He confessed. He was like, "I knew it was you because I went back to the scene of the crime, or I went back to her house." After I left to say something, and she was already dead on the floor. And I thought it was you. She said that to the wife. So therefore, I positioned her body as if it looked like it was similar to a case that we've done before. So it looked suspicious, and it would take the eyes off us, right? A lot of the suspicion off of us. That's what it would do. That's what he thought. And he confessed. And she was like, the wife's like, no, you're wrong. And I thought it was the wife too. I really did. Because she was just too supportive, too stand by your man. And I've talked about this. She was too complacent. Just, you can be with her, you can sleep with her, just don't love her. Are you fucking kidding me? I don't think so. Nobody's going to say that. So I definitely thought that was suspicious. So I thought it was her. And so did he. Come to find out, his daughter walks in. She's like, it wasn't mom, it was me. Whoa. Whoa. Now, I can see the daughter wanting to go over and talk to the mistress, right? I don't want you seeing my dad. Stay away from my family. You're fucking up my family, right? That's essentially what she was going over to. You see the scene. And she ended up in a panic after the attorney told her that she was actually pregnant with her dad's child and she was going to keep the baby. And the girl lost her cool, picked up the fire poker and swung it and hit her head and killed her. Right? That was bad. And then she panicked, and you see a scene where she drove to a park and buried the log poker, right? She buried the evidence. But then to go back and unbury, to dig up the poker and then clean it off and then put that tag on it, go fuck yourself, and then stick that as intimidation. And Tommy Mottola house, the other attorney, that was the piece of evidence. But to do that, to go back and do that, that's diabolical, right? That's crazy. So I have a hard time thinking that a teenage girl would do that. Not saying she can't. Not saying she can't. I'm just saying I find that very hard to believe. But an unexpected twist, that's for sure. But I thought the ending was a little abrupt. You know, the ending, that's it. Like the guy, Tommy Mottola, you could see how upset he was at the end. And the district attorney turned to him and said, "How long did you love her?" Because he was like, there's just no justice for Caroline. There's just no justice. And like I said, the other attorney's like, "Well, how long did you love her?" And then the verdict was in, so that got interrupted. But he's right. There was no justice for her at all. Because at the end of the episode, you know, everybody, you know, Jake Gyllenhaal, who is paid his name, he just turned to his daughter and was like, "This is what happened. This is the story. Okay? And if anything ever happens, it's my fault and I'll take the case." Now, I don't know how it works. I don't know if he could be tried again. I don't know. But he was like, "This is my fault. It'll all fall on me." But through the rest of the episode, you know, everybody's just, you know, life goes on, carries on. You know, they're having Thanksgiving dinner and the football game after it. And, you know, life goes on. But she's dead and her murder goes unsolved. Even though we now know who did it, I should say. Unsolved for the legal system. So, I don't know how, I wasn't overly impressed with the ending, but here's a little bit of a fun fact, is that there will be a season 2, which should be interesting. I'm not sure how that's going to play out because this was originally based on a book and it was then made into a movie in the early 90s, I think it was. And that was it. So I don't know how you're going to do a season 2. The only reason I found out that there was a season 2 coming up is Peter Skarsgård, who played Tommy Mottola, the attorney. He said he was not going to be coming back for season 2. So I don't know what season 2 is going to look like. Are they going to come back with other evidence and see if it was the daughter and then try and put the blame on her? Is it going to be a completely different story altogether? I don't know. Sounds interesting. But I really was into season 1. I definitely will watch season 2. I know I will. But yes, I was a little bummed by the ending. It was a twist. There was at one point I thought, could it be the daughter? Because she said something. What was it? Like, you should take the plea or something like that. Or something about, she said something once. I'm like, well, could she have done it? Because the son knew that the dad was having the affair. So my question is, if he knew, could she have known? Probably. Kids are smarter than we think. You know, they pick up on a lot more than we think they do sometimes. So that was my second question. But I thought it was the wife. So I was definitely surprised at the end. That's for sure. But all in all, good season. There's some other great shows coming up on Apple. There's some new movies coming out. But everything's going to have been very quiet while the Olympics have been on. Most of the shows have been doing repeats or just taking a break. So it will be nice to see some regular TV back on once the Olympics are over. But we're going to call it here today. I have a lot more to talk about. This is going to be a two-parter today. So please come back for part 2 later on. And we're going to be going through the Bravo breakdown. We've had a couple season finales on Bravo. Excited to get into that. Some other TV, entertainment, movies, and some more fun pop culture. So we just got into a little bit of sports and some politics today. Just dipped our toe into the entertainment. So join me later and we'll come back for the entertainment. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I'll see you back for part 2. Bye. And please follow me on Instagram at PollyWineTime and anywhere you get your podcast. Thank you. Your podcast.